Hey everyone, welcome back to Looking for Tinderella. This is your host yet again, Julie Thompson. This topic of this episode is going to be a little darker and heavier than my other episodes. Typically, this would be fun and all, but with online dating, there's a serious side of it. You guessed it. Today, we're going to discuss the dangers of online dating and how to protect yourself. So, we all know it's a scary world out there. Between the fear of sex trafficking, creeps, getting mugged, come on, even serial killers. The matter of fact is online dating is not the safest place to be corresponding with a stranger. You don't know who they are. If they're telling the truth, hell, you don't even know if they are the person they say they are. You don't even know if their pictures are real. These are things that we have to be concerned with, and a whole lot of other crap that people would not necessarily think of. I want to go over the likeliness that these things would happen, and maybe give some personal insight on how to keep everybody safe. Now, one of the things that people should be aware of is scammers. They're everywhere, like your emails, weird websites, those annoying unknown phone calls saying that you're going to be arrested by not providing your social security number and things like that. They're also all over dating apps too. It was stated that the most recent version of this scam involves mobile dating app Tinder. Unfortunately, Tinder's popularity has made it a magnet for scammers. The Better Business Bureau released a warning to consumers alerting them to scammers who are using Tinder to spread malware to obtain money. That alone is just terrifying for even one to think about, that people can manipulate you that easily. Some of the things to look for when you think you are being scammed is things like, is their profile picture too perfect? Are they message you immediately? And how personal are those questions? Like, are they asking you where you're from and what you're into? Now that's normal, but how much money do you make? Now that's a red flag. All right, for the next part, I want to introduce my friend Jonna back onto the podcast.
Hello.
All right, so let's just get into this. According to the Building Healthy Academic Communities Journal, it is said that college students are vulnerable to sexual assault due to their unique circumstances and frequent use of online dating sites. It has been found that more than 50% of college students use online dating. With these stats, do you think that's true?
Of course. Just with the sheer numbers of people that use the apps, you're bound to run into a few bad eggs.
A few bad eggs.
A few bad, smelly,
rotten
eggs.
Alright, so have you ever entered a date in which you feared that sexual assault would be the end of the night?
Honestly, it's always on the back of your mind. With anyone that you don't know that you're meeting for the first time, there's that fear, especially for girls.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So, previous to recording this, we ran through my questions and everything like we usually would. And my next point, we actually had a really good discussion on, and that's why I really want to focus on this right now, is for me, I date girls. So there's, I don't know, it's kind of weird because I've never walked into a situation with another girl. I've been on many dates from Tinder and Bumble or Hinge or whatever, where I've never worried about sexual assault with another woman. However, you reverse that, saying that you have walked into situations like that.
Oh yeah, with men, obviously, there's that whole stereotype which has some truth to it, with men being a little more aggressive and straightforward than others. And with women, it's different, especially with the types of women that you and I go for.
We go for two completely different types.
Completely different. I'm more open and talk to different types of women, but you tend to go for softer girl next door vibes.
I was gonna say, what did you call it before?
Girl next door vibes, yeah. And honestly, those, I hate to feed into the stereotype, but you're not really that likely to get assaulted by a girl next door. Not that you wouldn't.
No, because it could happen to anyone
from any time, but they're just I've talked to a lot of women that are more masculine types, and they're way more, in my opinion, with the people I've talked to, they're way more aggressive and
so you
pushy.
So you would fear that is something with a more masculine type of woman. If you were to go out with her, you would still fear that.
Yeah. I would.
In which, for me, like, for the girls that, like, I've dated, I've never worried about that.
No.
It's never once crossed my mind that, like, oh, like, something bad might happen to me. Like, I've never had that.
Yeah.
So I found it, like, because when we were talking about it, I was actually surprised that you said, like, more masculine women.
Yeah. And I've talked about this with our friends before, like Felicia, because Felicia, she's talks to masculine women too, and she's been in situations with masked girls that she wasn't comfortable with because of how pushy and aggressive they were.
Which I kind of find funny, and now that, like, we're talking about this right now, because a lot of the girls I date, I'll go out with them or whatnot, and let's be real, like, I'm that middle.
Yeah.
I dress masculine, I can
You're more androgynous.
Yeah, I'm very much androgynous. Yeah. In which, like, when girls meet me, they're kind of surprised by me.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wow, like, you're so nice, like, you're so, like, soft to talk to.
Yeah.
I don't look that way.
Yeah.
But like,
that's how you are.
When you get to know me. So, like, it's kind of funny because I'm now realizing, like, some of the dates I've been on, like, they've been nervous and I haven't.
Exactly.
Because I never fear for it on their end, but they might fear for it on me.
Yeah.
But, like, then once you get to talk to me, they're like,
oh, wait, this would never happen with this kind of person.
Oh, wow, she's an actual teddy bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very true.
It is true. Yeah.
I don't know. It was just...
Yeah,
really threw me off.
It's hard because I feel like there's just not enough spoken about for gay romance or gay side of Tinder or, like, any sort of thing.
The gays and the lesbians.
The gays, like, the whole thing. Because, like, with me, like, I have my preferences, like, always set to, like, both.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, I'm open to talk to anyone. So, like, I'd talk to, like, girly girls or, like, masked girls or soft butches or, you know, like, guys who tend to be more, like, feminine and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's hard because it's, like, the people that I was more, like, wary of tended to be, like, dudes and masked women, to be honest.
I don't know why I found that so surprising.
Well, it's because it's, like, it's a viewpoint thing. You know, like, I could never speak on how it is for a gay man, like, who they're afraid of or anything, you know, or who they're, like, cautious of.
But Jenna and I agreed, like, we definitely wanted to touch on this subject just because, like, you will hear about gay men and sexual assault stories from them, but you rarely hear it from, like, a woman with woman relationship or interaction or anything like that.
Well, there's a stigmatism.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? There's, like, always a stigma about it.
It's just the same thing why you don't really hear about, like, women assaulting men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it happens.
Yeah, it does happen, but you never hear about it.
But you don't really hear about it because there's a stigma. And it's like women are more, like, culturally, like, in our culture at least, are supposed to be more submissive to people. Especially men. And it's like even that dynamic is pushed on, like, same-sex couples. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, who's the man in the relationship and shit like that.
Okay, but, like, just throwing it out there, that's the point for me. Like, there's not supposed to be a man.
There's not supposed to be, yeah. But I feel like that's part of why it's not talked about.
No, there isn't. All right, so to follow up, there was a study done in this year, actually, 2019, in which they tested a bunch of different people with the median age being 23, and you're 23 and I'm 22, so it's right in our range. The results claim that individuals that tested higher with, like, a higher level of sadism would use Tinder and would be predictive of sexual assault and non-sexual violence. So what do you think of that?
Well, it just makes sense. Where are people who are more inclined to be predatory types? Where are they going to go? They're going to go where the people are, you know? Like, just like I said earlier, like, when we were younger and, like, all, like, the Craigslist killer stuff was happening was when Craigslist was huge and people were using it and not being safe. Like, not thinking that there could be an issue.
But it doesn't even have to tend to sexual assault either. I'm like, this is also non-sexual violence. So, like, you know, battery and robbery and stealing and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I mean, when my sister was in Georgia, like, still going on, like, the sex trafficking over there is insane.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's insane everywhere, but it's so prevalent. Like, she do you remember when I told you she almost got, like, taken at that gas station?
Yeah. And she was based right outside of Atlanta.
Right outside of Atlanta. And it's, like, it begs the question. You see all these stories online of, like, it's, like, PSA for women, like, if this type of behavior, if someone's talking to you like this on Tinder, like, be wary because it's sex trafficking and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
And that could even happen, like, with women who are only interested in women, because it's, like, they use people, like, you know, they use, like, a fake profile of a woman to, like, drag you out.
Yeah, it's basically, like, and I touched on this in the intro, where it's, like, one of the biggest things you need to be wary of is, like, is that profile picture too good to be true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen it, and I've actually sent you some, where
Yeah.
I've been like, wow, like, this looks so fake, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, like, you and I have laughed it off, but we don't know who's behind that profile.
Like, why does that profile exist? Like, it might be someone just, like, trying to catch a cheating ex, but it also might be something, like, more sinister.
Yeah, either it could be, like, I don't know, a 15-year-old kid playing a prank on people, or it could be something much more serious.
Yeah, and it's definitely, like, it's scary.
It is. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so, pushing forward, have you had any other dates in which you were nervous in general that something bad would happen, like them stealing from you, hitting you, things like that?
I mean, I never got to, like, that point, I don't think, in, like, any dates I went on, but I definitely went on dates where I just felt uncomfortable. Sometimes it wouldn't even be, like, for any particular reason, and I would just find a way out of it, because I trusted my instincts.
It's a lot about trusting your gut with people.
It really is, and, like, and when you just have to be able to, like, understand, like, what your comfort zone is and how to keep yourself safe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely
So
agree.
I never let myself be in a situation where it was scary. But when I was 18, I did some dumb shit on Tinder I probably shouldn't have done.
Honestly, though, I think about, like, we had touched on our last episode, like, kidding around about, like, you and I drove out to Atlantic City to meet that girl.
Yeah.
And that was my weird Tinder story. I mean, it was wild. But, like, at the same time, there was a specific reason I asked you to go. One, you're my best friend. I trust you with my life. But it's also, like, this girl is asking me to meet her in Atlantic City, which is, like, over an hour away from where we live.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met her face to face. She's bringing along, what was it, like 8 or 9 of her friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know any of these people, and I don't want to put myself in a situation where, like, something could happen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely, it's a learning curve. And when people that are younger that have access to, like, these dating apps and stuff, like, they might not be fully aware of the risk involved.
No, and, like, well, we've talked about it, and I'm fine opening up about this, was, like, that specific night, we have talked, it's been years since then, we talked about how, like, that girl had me drink a lot.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, we messed around and everything like that, but I was drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And I said to you after, like, at least a year after, I was like, yeah, she had drank a lot too. And you were like, no, she didn't. And I was like, what do you mean?
That much, yeah.
So, like, then that got me worried. Like,
it was a red flag, yeah.
Absolutely, that I wasn't aware of, because one, I wasn't in the right state of mind, but, like, two, like,
you don't think of that stuff.
I don't think of that stuff.
We weren't thinking of that kind of...
That something like that could happen.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you never think anything would happen to you. You think you're invincible at our age.
Fine. Yeah.
And then...
Especially, like, with the, like, age that, like, Tinder and these dating websites, like, attract. It's younger people, like, college-age people who just got their, like, first taste of real freedom. You know, they think they can do whatever they want. They think they're the masters of their own fate, and...
They're not.
They're not, because it's, like, you have to factor in, like, there's people out there that can hurt you, and that want to hurt you, you know, and want to take advantage of you.
Yeah, I think for us, we are lucky in the fact that nothing has happened to us.
Yeah.
But I can't say the same for other people that I know.
No.
Because I do know a lot of people that have had something happen to them based off these apps.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just something that, like, people just really need to be cautious of.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in the news all the time. I mean, all that stuff that's happening with that, the girl that died.
Yeah.
That whole thing, like, that's in the news right now, and the guy's going to court for it and everything.
Yeah.
And that was not even in our country.
No, it was not.
No. I mean, it's just like you have to be aware of this stuff. And
Absolutely.
It's out there.
All right, so the last thing I want to ask you is, do you have any advice for the people listening, like how to keep them safe while using dating apps? Like what information is okay to give, what's not, some red flags they should look out for, anything to that nature?
You got to take care of yourself first, and you have to understand that you don't know these people.
And you don't owe them anything.
You don't owe them anything, and don't allow yourself to get pushed around. You know, always, like, the biggest red flag that I always, like, looked out for was, like, someone who was pushy. You know?
Yeah.
Someone who's, like, demanding. And it's not always, like, you know, obvious. Like, it's, people are like, oh, well, I just want to go on a date with you. I just want to see you. Like, it seems innocent, but that behavior, like, it tends to lead, you know, like, mean something.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's not always the case. Like,
no.
That's the tricky part about online dating is, one, you never know who's behind the actual profile. You don't know if it's the person in those pictures or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's catfishing 101.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't really know how to put it exactly.
Yeah.
It's very scary. Like, it can be fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I have had a blast with it for years. But then when you actually take a look and start talking to some of these people, there are red flags that you need to look out for.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like, I've had people, and this has happened to me, where, like, I matched with a very pretty girl, and I was like, oh, wow. Started talking, and she's like, oh, so, like, how much money do you make in a year? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, you're fishing for money.
Yeah.
Like, immediately I red flagged that as a scam.
Yeah.
Because I was like, nope, blocked her right off.
Yeah. People that definitely, like, push to know more about you, that's then it's like comfortable,
like,
you know,
the where you from,
yeah,
are you in school, oh, like, do you have a job, what do you do for work, fine,
those are, yeah, that's fine information, but it's,
and see, like, we have rules, like, her and I were talking about this before, like, we already have preset rules where, like, I tend not to give my phone number until, one, I've been talking to them for like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Or I've met them face to face already and realized that it's no true threat.
Yeah. I always tend to not meet up with someone unless I've talked to them for like over a week. Yeah. You know? Because, like, I don't know you. I always look up people's other profiles.
Oh,
you gotta fact check. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta see what's going on. Because, like, some people go in there, they have girlfriends or boyfriends and stuff.
Yeah, like,
just bare minimum, like, info you should know before talking to someone.
I mean, I think, and it's kind of funny where people always say this, like, so there's, like, our rule of Tinder, where it's like, all right, you talk to them on Tinder, you guys are messaging back and forth. Some people, a lot of people, don't have, like, their notifications on, so they're like, oh, like, what if we talk on something else? For me, like, I don't like giving out my phone number immediately, so I'll give out my Snapchat.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, here's my Snapchat. Like, you can use that to contact me, because I don't have my location services turned on Snapchat.
Yeah.
So they don't know where I am exactly, because that is something I worry about, like stalking.
And goes back into, like, the sex trafficking.
Absolutely, goes right back into sex trafficking. But I'll be like, oh, and this will be after at least a week on Tinder. I'll be like, oh, like, here's my Snapchat.
Yeah.
Talk on that for a little bit. Then you push a little bit forward, like, oh, do you have an Instagram? Find their Instagram. Once you get, like, their Instagram, typically by then you figure out their last name.
Yeah.
And that's when you go Facebook diving.
Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn.
You go diving for their personal information.
Oh, of course.
Like, not trying to be creepy, but you want to know, kind of get a sense of who this person is. Like, not what they're projecting.
Yeah, exactly. Because anyone can say anything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, there has to be a level of cautious distrust.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to be safe. Like,
I did this recently. I was talking to a girl. She gave me her Snapchat, and then I forget exactly. Oh, her Snapchat name, like, came up with her first and last name. So when she snapped me, like, it just popped up.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's your last name. And I remember, like, we had only been talking for, like, a week and a half, but I remembered, like, where she told me she was from and, like, where she lived currently. I took that information, went right into Facebook.
Yeah.
with her first and last name, found her immediately and realized,
Yeah.
like, oh, she's completely harmless. Like, this is exactly who she is.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is fake about this.
Mhm.
Like, it's just precautionary at this point.
But at the same time, it's like, flip that. Someone who...
My rule of thumb is
someone
if you
who's-
can't find their Facebook, they're fake.
But it's like, think about that for a second. Like, all of our social medias are connected. My Tinder was connected to my Facebook and my Instagram.
Yeah, mine's connected to
you
Facebook.
can go on Tinder, like, go onto someone's Tinder profile, find their Instagram, click on their Instagram username handle, it will open up Tinder, and then you can just message them on Tinder. The amount of guys that I left swipe that messaged me on Tinder,
Or messaged you
on Instagram, and
Yeah.
were like, oh, hey, I saw you on Tinder, and blah, 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 was insane.
Well, now Tinder has it, because I know you haven't been on it in a while.
Yeah, I haven't.
Where even if you link your Instagram, it doesn't show your username anymore.
Oh, that's good, because that takes away that whole thing.
Yeah, it takes away that
That's
whole
great.
thing. That Bumble and Hinge as well, it doesn't show our usernames anymore.
Okay, that's cool.
Because, like, my username on Instagram is not my first and last name.
Yeah.
It has, it's
Nothing to do with anything.
No, it's a joke. It's literally an inside joke between
Yeah.
us is my Instagram handle. So, like, for me, it's kind of funny because it is a little more difficult to find me.
Yeah. But it's like, we're able to look into other people's stuff and fact check and make sure they're who they are. Other people can do that to us too, in a way.
Absolutely.
Like, my Snapchat is my first and last name, and I know plenty of people I've matched with and given my Snapchat have looked me up on Instagram and looked me up on Facebook and stuff.
oh, yeah,
You
and
know?
I've
So
had that too.
if they can do that, people that aren't good people and are predators can do that too.
Absolutely.
So you got to be careful with your profiles in general. You know? You
Like-
have to be careful with what you put on there.
Like, some of my, like, rules that I have is, like, I don't give out my phone number unless it's been, like, a while or we've met face to face. I don't like to give out my last name.
Yeah.
That's something big. Like, I know that my Snapchat has my last name in it.
Yeah.
And I've honestly been thinking about changing it.
Yeah.
Just because of this whole reason. And I mean, you and I, we're people that are aware of these situations.
Yeah.
We're aware that this could easily happen to anybody. A lot of people aren't aware.
Yeah.
They're not thinking of it.
I mean, I wasn't thinking of that when I was like 18 and on here.
yeah, 18, 19.
No.
Even when I was, well, I mean, I wasn't on from 19 through 21.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go back on until 22. But, like, that 3-year break, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously nothing. But, like, I had just turned 22 and I was recently single and I went back on and I really wasn't thinking of it then.
Yeah.
Until more recently, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I need to be a little bit more careful with my information.
Yeah.
And that's when I just started sitting there. I was like, I'm setting down rules because I never had rules.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't really.
No, most
I mean, if
people
you're gonna
don't.
go, I like recommend if you're gonna go on a date, like, I always let someone know who I was going with, how you can contact me, like,
you always
where
told me.
I was going. I always told at least 2 people.
Yeah, you always, like, because, I mean, before you got in your relationship, you went out with that guy. His name was Daniel.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, okay, we're going to sushi at this place at this time on
Yep.
this day. Like, you can text me. And I'm like, all right, like, let me know how it goes. Text me if you need me or anything. Because, you know, like,
Yeah.
if anything were to happen,
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
drop anything and run to you.
Of course.
And I
yeah.
know you would do the same thing for me.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm always, like, on one of those, too, where it's
Yeah,
like...
you always tell me when, like, where you're going, like, what time you're going.
Funny, too, it's like, I tell you, and I also, like, I end up always, like, telling my mom, too.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's funny, like, yeah, I'm 22, I'm still in college, yes, of course I live with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she worries about these kind of things, because she has said to me multiple times, like,
Yeah.
are you ever thinking of, like, sexual predators on these things? And I'm like, it crosses my mind.
Yeah.
But, like, I won't go out with somebody unless I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, like, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. Unless you've done some, like,
Digging.
to make yourself feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, like, I do that. I mean, I don't anymore because I'm in a relationship. But when I was on Tinder, I did so much digging on people. You know?
Yeah, you can find out literally
You
anything.
can find out anything.
I mean, like, if you were really that worried about somebody, I mean,
Yeah.
you could find their, like, public records, things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, I've never dug that
No.
far.
No, but you can.
You can if you would like to, if
Yeah.
it would make you more comfortable. I never did just because I was like, I just want to make sure you're the real person.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure,
Yeah.
like, all of your social media is, like, current and things like that. I think that's something that, like, a lot of people need to be
more aware
doing
of
more.
and doing more, yeah.
Like, instead of, and I've seen it multiple times, they'll talk on somebody with, like, on Tinder or Bumble or something for, like, a day, and then they'll be like, oh, I'm going out with them tonight, I'm meeting them at blah, blah, blah,
Oh my
bar.
God, that always terrifies me.
When, like, because our friend Felicia has done it, she's met, like, a guy, and, like, the next day, she's like, oh, well, I'm meeting them at the bar, and I'm like... Hey guys, so I wanted to apologize. The end of that interview got cut short because apparently John and I ran over our time limit. Funny enough, of course we did, because we're always bantering about different things. But anyways, we were basically summing up that a lot of the time with online dating, people meet up with other people, not expecting the worst of it. There was a funny segment which we talked about being old ladies and trying to give our advice, but at the end of the day, what we're concerned about is people being aware that there are dangers in online dating, that you need to be careful, you need to set boundaries where you can. So I wanted to now thank Jonna for being on my podcast, even though she isn't with me right now. And that ends up concluding another episode of Looking for Tinderella. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch up with you later.